All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Racing League Indy Series here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. I say it's kind of a bit of a mouthful, so I'm obviously familiar with the term, or with the name of Gateway. Say it's what this track was originally at least set up as, let's say. But that being said, though, it's going to be a difficult track this evening. It's a very challenging one for sure. So it's going to be exciting to see what these drivers are going to be able to do. So it's going to be also one that's going to really come into play for how this title fight's going to come to the end here. As you can see, 1 point right now between Eric Schaus and Craig Forsyth for that top spot. So this is the second to last race of Season 6, so it's going to really come down to the wire here. In third, you've got Matt Wagner. Fourth is David Payton. Rounding out our top 5, you have Jim Brooks. And then 6th through 10th, you've got James Ledford, Michael Spell, Benjamin Combs, Bud Steele, and Corey Lane. So right now, drivers making their qualifying laps here to see how we're going to start things off here this evening. Say obviously qualifying is going to play a big role. Track position, I think, going to play a big role in this thing as well. I'll say while we watch some of these drivers still making a couple of their laps here, so I'm going to bring it over to my esteemed colleague Steve Gottschalk, because I know Steve's been trying to run some laps around this tricky track, and so Steve, maybe you can give us all a little bit of insight on what we might expect to see here this evening.
Hello, Gael. Hello, everybody. I've been trying to figure this thing out. I don't know how these guys are going so fast here, but I haven't had enough laps. Here's what I figured out so far. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Gateway, it's kind of an egg-shaped oval like Darlington, except it's more of a short track. So in the shorter turn, which is turn 1 and 2, you have to slow down quite a bit. I ended up shifting from 6th all the way down to 4th, and still was having trouble in that turn. In turn 3 and 4, it's a much wider turn. You can go almost all the way flat out. I also noticed the aero push is going to be a problem, especially in that particular turn. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys are able to do here. I think we're going to see things string out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all winds up as here. So let's go ahead and pull up our starting grid, though. So on pole position is going to be that 6 of Bud Steele here, getting the pole position. Next to him, our points leader by 1 point, currently Eric Schaus. In third is James Ledford. 4th, Jim Brooks. In 5th is Michael Spell. 6th, Jimmy Drynan. 7th, Benjamin Combs. And in 8th, Gary Corley. So you actually have to get to the second page before we see our second championship competitor. So in 9th, we have Charles Teed, but in 10th, Craig Forsyth. Not the qualifying lap I'm sure he was looking for, so he's going to have to try to work his way forward here tonight. Then you got Matt Wagner in the 11th spot, Todd Merkel in 12th, Harrison Chandler in 13th, and then Jack Walls, Ed Williams, and Dwight Plesh round out 14th through 16th. And then we have 17th is John Brill, and in 18th, Paul Patterson.
I'm surprised to see Craig Forsyth back as far as he is, because this is really going to drive much more like a road course than a oval, and he's pretty good at those.
Yeah, so definitely not the lap he was looking for. May have made a mistake, I'll say, but we'll definitely keep an eye. We've definitely seen him work his way forward before in these races, so he's going to definitely need to get that done tonight to find his way towards the front. Again, he's going to be keeping his eye on that number 72 of Eric Schaus to try to keep him within reaching distance. Again, I say that's going to be the goal between these two, is going to be minimizing mistakes and then also capitalizing on the opportunities that they're given to him. Of course, we mentioned bonus points. First in pole position, that's going to actually go to Bud Steele, so it's kind of a wash between the two of them there. Of course, from there, you got the lap led, most laps led, a clean race, so those are going to be the next ones that these drivers are going to be trying to keep their cars in good contention here to have a chance, get those bonus points, of course, try to finish as high as possible.
Gotta look at the difference in speed just on the qualifying laps. You've got a whole second from the first from the pole position to the last person that qualified.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be a challenge. I'm saying that's probably just honestly just missing one of those turns just that little bit. So you said, I'll say this isn't one where you can just go foot to the floor. You really got to get this thing slowed down. So we're gonna see the pace car duck off there as they come through turn number 4. And I say Bud Steele is gonna lead this field down the long straightaway here before we take the green flag. Again, the initial start is on the green. And we are down and away. 100 laps is the scheduled distance tonight at Worldwide Technology Raceway, also known as Gateway, as Bud Steele is going to lead him off into turn number 1. Oh, we see one already catch the wall off the exit there. I believe that might have been Jimmy Drynan. I'm trying to double check the car number here. That was that STP machine. I think it was. So far, looks like he's going to get away with it. May have affected the car a little bit, but right now he's definitely hanging on. However, we talk about Craig Forsyth right off the bat. He is right in the mix of this little battle here, and say he wants to get into some clean traffic as quick as he can.
Yeah, he seems to be really on the move. One of the things I noticed, speaking of somebody rubbing the wall there, these cars seemed a little bit to me unstable on the straightaway, so it was a challenge just to keep it in a straight line and not drift into the wall.
Yeah, I know they were working the setup as much as they could, and just it seemed like, yeah, it was difficult to get a hold of the setup for what they're hoping to have tonight. So I think these drivers are definitely going to have to work for it this evening. You mentioned the clean air and saying Bud Steele definitely taking advantage of that. It's got about a half a second over that 72 of Eric Schaus. Saying some of these turns, especially right there in 3 and 4, even though it's the wider turn, it's a little flatter. But you can just carry so much speed through there. It's going to be definitely the faster of the turns. As you said, Steve, Bud Steele drops down to 4th gear, gets down to about 150 through that turn before they get back up onto the straightaway, and saying they get back all the way back up to about 190 before they hit turn number 3.
So he's basically doing what I was doing, and I had no idea if I was doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, say right now, he's definitely doing what he needs to. So Eric's closing the gap just a little bit, about 3/10 now. Again, we talked about that aero push. That's going to be something to keep an eye on, though, because right now most of these drivers here are running, for the most part, pretty much a similar line. You got the top 5 here all pretty much bunched together with Bud Steele, Eric Schaus, Jim Brooks, James Ledford, Michael Spell, and then just a little bit of a gap back to the 77 of Benjamin Combs, who's under fire from our championship competitor, the 27 of Craig Forsyth. So Craig has gone from 10th to 7th so far, so it's a positive start for him. But obviously he needs to get a few more here to see if he can get back to his competition with that 72 of Eric Schaus. Looks like he's going to have a peak here entering turn number 3. So I think he just had enough in there, and yeah, he's going to send it into turn number 3 and 4. So I think Benjamin probably gave him a little bit of room there as well. So move Craig now up into that 6th spot. So let's say definitely trying to make his way forward after that qualifying position that he definitely was hoping for a little better of.
I couldn't see who that lap car was that they just went by, but he had some sheet metal hanging off the side of.
I believe that's the 90 of, oh yeah, you're right, John Brill. Yeah, he's missing the right front wing end plate, and he's heading straight into the pits here, so he's going to try to get that front. Oh yeah, actually, you're right, the side pod also a little bit torn off on that car, so yeah, that's going to definitely take some repairing to do there. We'll see if maybe he just does a manual repair, or if this is the time for the fast repair. But actually, as I say, that caution is out. Looks like the 80. Oh, Todd Merkel. Yeah, heavy contact with the inside wall here. So that's going to bring us under first caution. I don't know if that car is going to be able to get out from there, so he's going to try to see if he can get it out. But I think that thing's pretty wedged in up against the wall with that tire damage down as well. So we'll take a look here. So he's actually on his own, so I'm not sure what may have happened. Say it may have just been a little bit of an issue with sometimes obviously people have hardware issues with their controller, things of that nature. You can see the car just actually kind of veers off to the left there. So I'm thinking maybe the steering wheel or something like that may have either came undone or something along those lines, which we have seen happen before, unfortunately. So on the plus side for the field, to say it only caught up Todd Merkel, so that will put us under our first caution, though, of the evening. So let's say we're going to see our first strategy call here for these leaders to see what their plan is going to be, if they pit or not, or if they're going to go track position. And so far, we got a few track position calls, but we've got our championship competitor there, Eric Schaus. He's going to be the first one hitting the pits. He's also got Jim Brooks and Craig Forsyth along with him.
I've looked at that replay a few times, and the only thing that makes sense to me is some kind of hardware failure.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that, I mean, we'll say with sim racing, it's one of the things you kind of run into from time to time, unfortunately. Wound up biting the 81 of Todd Merkel this time around. So, say pit stops underway. Looks like tires and fuel for all that are hitting the pits. And it looks like they're all going to come out right in the positions they came in. So Eric Schaus is going to cycle through as the first car that made pit stops. However, going to be a handful that stayed out. Looks like Jack Walls will be the last car on the lead lap to stay out in the 4th position. So we'll have Bud Steele, James Ledford, Michael Spell, and Jack Walls as our top 4 under this first caution here, and say as they've elected to stay out. I was looking at the 90 of John Burlett car. Looks like it's back in good condition again. Not sure if it's a fast repair or not, but he's back on track here. So right now showing us 2 down. I thought he might actually get the wave around there, but didn't see him actually get waved by. So he's going to actually hit the pits here. So he's going to be trapped 2 down at the moment. Also, the 81 of Todd Merkel also going to be trapped 2 down here at the moment, as he's still sitting on pit road as well.
So let's see, according to what I'm seeing here, it looks like Eric Schaus will be restarting 5th as the first car on new tires.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so we'll have Eric in 5th with the new tires, and you have Jim Brooks, Craig Forsyth on the same strategy. So it only took until the first caution, but we've already got Eric and Craig within a spot or 2 of each other, kind of like we see week in and week out. So they seem to find a way of always getting to each other. So that 1 point difference is going to be definitely a tight one here. I'm sure going into the finale.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think with what I was experiencing during practice with the push that these tires develop and the aero push, it's possible that compared to a lot of the other races that we've watched this year, tires are going to make a bigger difference here.
Yeah, I definitely think they could. I think it's a really good point, Steve. So we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on what the tire wear is going to look like, and of course lap times and such. I think the goal, it's going to be really, if you can get through turns 1 and 2 well, and try to get that run down the backstretch, use that draft to get underneath that car in front of you. I think that's going to be the best opportunity to make these passes happen. Just because of, again, these are longer straightaways, so if you can get a good exit and maybe kind of go off, not off strategy, but kind of go offline a little bit, find some cleaner on your nose, and then try to maybe cut underneath that car, that's going to be your best opportunity. So we'll have to keep an eye. Say lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to go green again this time. Good news, Todd Merkel is back out on track, so he and John Brill both going to be trapped just 2 down here. So those 2 will be fighting for that lucky dog position, get one of the 2 laps back, and of course, whoever gets that one will probably be in prime position to get the second one back as well if we have more yellows. All right, so first start there, Steve went on green. This one's going to be controlled by the 6 of Bud Steele. And Gateway's a little bit of an original track, I'll say, because you'll see the pace car. He's going to duck in pretty early through 3 and 4, and pretty much once that pace car's off of the racing surface into the pit lane, that 6 can go whenever he wants. So I mean, he could go almost at the very end of turn number 4 and of course to go a ways down the front straightaway as well. So you see the pace car is in, and yeah, Bud Steele wasting no time. He is down and away. Going to try to take advantage of that track position here and gets a great restart over James Ledford entering turn number 1.
Okay, and Craig Forsyth already making a move under Jim Brooks on the inside.
Yeah, I saw that too. Oh, it just doesn't quite have the momentum on the exit, and that's one of the things we talked about. So these drivers both are on equal footing here, tires and fuel. Craig tried to get the dive into turn 1, had the nose underneath, but Jim's able to keep the momentum on the exit. So now we're going to see how Eric's able to do, as he's going to be the first one on those fresh tires, trying to work over Jack Walls, who again is on about 10 lap older tires here. So this is going to be a good comparison of the fresh tires versus slightly worn tires.
Yeah, definitely, and I can already see it's going to be a challenge to pass on the inside of turns 1 and 2, unless you got fresher tires, of course.
Yeah, so I don't know if Jack may have missed the entry there, but it looks like he's going to get freight trained there. All 3 of those cars get by. Benjamin Combs going to try to follow through as well. So move Eric up to the 4th position. Jim Brooks now in 5th, and of course Craig Forsyth falls right through into that 6th spot. And then you can see, I was about to say Jack was in a bad spot there. Contact between himself and the 70. Oh, more cars involved. Heavy hit. Saw the 099 take a wild ride there, and also caught, I think that was Charles Teed, also get caught up in that. So this is a big incident here. A lot of cars getting caught up in this one here. So let's go back and see, because yeah, there's a lot that happened there. So it all kind of kicked off with the 83. Oh, he gets loose off of 2. That cuts him down under the 77 of Benjamin Combs. So nothing they could do there. You can see, looks like the 99 of Matt Wagner just sneaks on by there. And then unfortunately, you'll see just a little further back, drivers trying to react and get away from it. You see Charles Seed, he has to go to the grass there. And unfortunately, once he hits the grass, no control over his car. Keeps it off the inside wall, but then unfortunately loses traction. You can see that's going to send him right back up into that outside wall here. So we'll go back, because you can see there's that 099 as well of Jimmy Drynan. He also made some heavy contact with the wall. So let's go back and take a look from that 099 machine.
That's a lot of torn up cars on that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of damage. Because I think it was Jimmy Drynan was also in that, and I believe there was one other. I think that may have been Harrison Chandler was the other involved. Yeah, there's Harrison in the 4 car, and you can see he's trying to figure out where he wants to go, and unfortunately he tries to move up to avoid the incident, and that's where him and Jimmy Drynan make contact, and you can see Jimmy goes for a ride there. Actually goes up and over, then able to at least just get back on his wheels afterwards. So yeah, a lot of damage for these cars here. A lot of fast repairs are going to have to be taken right off the bat there as well.
I want to guess that that wasn't as much a loose for Jack Walls as it was a push loose.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It just looked, because that's what I experienced in practice. If you get on the gas too early in either one of these turns, your front end's going to want to push out to the wall. And a lot of times you try and correct that too much, and the car takes off to your left just to avoid hitting the wall. And it looks like it got loose, but instead it's what we call a push loose.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point, Steve. Again, yeah, so just like he's saying, so what you're doing is you've got the wheel cranked to the left, and the car just doesn't want to kind of follow the path that your wheel is going, so you're just kind of working up and up towards the wall a little bit. And then usually at some point, there's kind of that break where eventually the back end then finally kicks around on you, and it's too quick to catch. And so it is very possible that may have been what happened to Jack Walls, where he just had that wheel all the way cranked to the left. Again, he was on older tires and in some dirty air, so that's kind of the worst combination. And so, yeah, unfortunately, that caught him out there. It did benefit Todd Merkel. Todd is now back to just 1 lap down. So now, with that big incident, though, it looks like Charles Teed and Todd Merkel both going to be trapped 1 down, so they're going to be battling for the lucky dog position. Jack Walls back on track 2 laps down. Jimmy Drynan still sitting in the pits. And then unfortunately, it looks like Benjamin Combs in the 77 machine looks like he may have retired from the event. So unfortunately, early exit for that number 77 car.
So the top three stayed out. Be interesting to see what happens here now.
Yeah, I think Bud Steele's still in a really good position, and he's got the clean air in his nose. We know, obviously, he's got the pace in that car just based on his qualifying laps. So, obviously, going to feel pretty confident if you're that 6th car. Just for him, I think he's going to be hoping for the cautions to fall or not fall at ideal times for him. Because again, it's not a huge strategy right now that they're off on. I'll say it's only about a 10-lap difference between himself and Eric Schaus right now for the first car on track and the first car with the pit stop. So, say not a huge difference there. Do need to mention that Harrison Chandler, Paul Patterson, they both pitted under this last yellow. So those guys do have about 20 laps more fuel and, of course, the freshest tires on the field right now on the lead lap. And looks like Jimmy Drynan may have retired as well in that 099, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, a couple early exits here, Steve. So, we're about to get things back underway, though. So it's going to, again, be Bud Steele leading the way. We saw he went early last time. We'll see if he changes it up or if he's going to kind of go with the same thought process there and try to just kind of get out of Dodge. And he does. I think he goes even earlier this time. And, again, gets a big gap over that 48 of James Ledford.
Yeah, he definitely opened up a nice gap there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the strategy call of him deciding to stay out there and have the control of that of the restarts here. So, as you see, they're coming through into 3 and 4. You see Jim Brooks almost a little lunge there. Eric Schaus entering turn 3. Eric's able to hold onto that spot though. So, again, these are the first drivers on the fresh tires: the 72, 76, 27, and the 99 of Matt Wagner. They've all separated themselves from Dwight Plesh in 8th position. So right now you've got all top 8 here, pretty much all locked on together.
I'm watching Eric Schaus pretty closely because I'm extremely curious to see what kind of a difference the 9 laps fresher tires are going to make here. I thought that he was going to be able to pull a move within the first 2 or 3 laps on who was that ahead of him, Michael Spell. But so far, either he's being very conservative or 9-lap tires don't make much difference.
Yeah, and I don't think that's enough difference on the tires at this point in the race. So right now, a good battle here, though, going on is Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner. Matt started in the 11th positions up to 7th, so these two kind of have been working their way up the field together right now. Saying that, like I said, they've kind of separated themselves out, so we've got pretty much the top 7 here, all pretty much line of stern, all within about 2 seconds of the lead. They've been able to separate themselves from 8th on back here, so Dwight Plesh, Gary Corley, Harrison Chandler, Paul Patterson, they're just a little bit off on track position where they are at the moment here. I think I just saw Eric Schaus. Yeah, he's just made a move. I should say he's in progress, trying to make a move on the 88 of Michael Spell for that 3rd spot.
Yep. Oh,
so
boy.
He's going to get it. Although he gets a little too hot there, Michael's going to go for the crossover here. And it looks like, again, Michael's got good momentum here on the exit through 1 and 2, entering 3 and 4. Michael's going to grab that spot back here, so we'll see. You see Eric, he's running the top side. He's actually getting pretty good momentum here on the top. And now he's going to actually try to make this move happen here up on the top side now.
Yeah, he's going to hold the position now. When he got into 1 and 2, he got so low he was down on the rumble strips, and I think that really messed him up badly.
Yeah, so it's definitely not the place you want to be. So you see Eric has been able to grab that spot. You see, again, Craig Forsyth as well. He's still trying to make a move. This time he's going to get Jim Brooks here off of 3 and 4. We'll see if Jim's able to do the same thing, get a little bit of a crossover, but looks like not at the moment. So Craig, again, he can't let that 72 get too far away, so Craig's going to move back up now into the top 5 from the 10th starting position. So now he's going to set his sights on that 88 the 88 of Michael Spell, because he's trying to keep up with the 72 of Eric Schaus.
Yeah, I think that's what happened there. I think Craig Forsyth was being a little bit conservative, and then he saw that Eric Schaus made that pass on Michael Spell, and he was like, it's getting too far away. I got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I said at this point, you're kind of obviously racing your race, but at the same time, you're also racing those around you. However, we got to jump back up front because James Ledford, he's closed that gap back up to Bud Steele, even with that aero push that he might be getting. He's doing a really good job on this 48 machine. He's right on the rear wing of that 6 of Bud Steele here, going on the front stretch as we're completing lap number 28.
like he had a little bit of a push coming off of turn 4. He might have gotten some momentum coming down the front straight.
Yeah, I think we see right now they are definitely trying to run different lines. You see 3 and 4 there. James is trying to stay a little bit lower than the 6 of Bud Steele. He gets to him, but I think actually right now, I think James is just content to ride. I think he's not trying to force the issue here. As again, you see Bud, he's kind of running the middle to low side in 3 and 4, or in 1 and 2. So James Ledford, he's going to run just that little bit higher. Again, try to keep the clean air on that front wing of that 48 machine. You can see creeping in the picture is Eric Schaus. He's within 0.3 of the 48, about half a second on the lead. So say he's joined the mix as well. So I've been watching lap times. They're all pretty consistent. They're all within about a tenth or so of each other. I was going to say last time by it was actually Craig Forsyth that was quickest, but this time Michael Spell, he puts down the fastest lap. So again, we talked about the tires versus fuel and the strategies and everything that's been playing out. So right now those tires aren't playing a huge difference right here. As you can see, these drivers on the older tires making pretty good lap times. As you saw James Ledford try to peak there 3 and 4, couldn't get it done. So Bud Steele is going to hang on to this lead for the moment.
Yep, throw a blanket over the top 3 right now.
Yeah, I'll say and then say James has to be careful because again, if he gets too aggressive trying to get around that 6 of Bud Steele, that's going to open the door for Eric to kind of if this 48 loses momentum, it really makes life a lot easier for that 72 of Eric Schaus. So right now, let's say they're all kind of according back in together again. You can see you can see the 88, I should say, Michael Spell. He's crept back into this picture again. He's now within a second of our leaders here. So I suspect we'll see Craig Forsyth try to get in there as well. As you see, actually had a little bit of a moment there off of turn number 2. As here goes again, James Ledford peaks high here, has to roll out of it a little bit. But I think it forced Bud Steele to run a little lower than he wanted to in 3 and 4. And you can see that's, yep, here it goes. The 40, he's going to take a peek. It was dead heat there at the line. Don't know who had the lead there, but they have a good battle here on the front here between that 6 and the 48 coming out of turn number 2.
Bud Steele was very respectful coming
Michael
off.
Spell. Oh, heavy contact. Got loose off of turn number 2. He's going to take a quick toe. It's going to keep us under green. However, so we'll go back and take a look at that incident. Looks like he just lost it off of 2. I say just again, I think that may have been just the tires there. Just lost the traction basically on the exit here. So say we'll watch here on board, and yeah, you can see the wheels already off to the right. Tries to hang on to it. Unfortunately, just can't catch it quick enough, so it's going to send him hard into that inside wall, as you can see. And just, again, he took a quick toe to try to avoid bringing out a caution. So, again, I mean, a great heads up by him. Nice way to try to keep this race going under green here, as now, say, James Ledford now leading the way, but has a mirror full still of Bud Steele.
Kyle, could you see what gear that Michael Spell was in?
I did not. I was looking at the TV camera angle, so I'm not sure. I think they've been using 4th gear through turns 1 and 2, though, if I'm not mistaken.
I did notice if you went in a gear that was too low, it was very easy to lose the car coming off that turn.
Okay, I'll say we'll take a look here. I'm watching James Ledford. James is staying in the 4th gear here through that turn and say still just not able to shake off that 6 of Bud Steele. Say Eric Schaus kind of right here, just right now, kind of in just a nice little spot to watch this, if you will. So we'll kind of hop on the roll bar of that number 72 current, so we can also see what he's got going on the gear side of things. I think we'll probably see the same thing, probably 4th gear through the turn here as well.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Michael Spell made a mistake. Sometimes it's easy to like shift one farther down than you intended to if you're using paddle shifters.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, so these cars you will be. I'll say I don't think they let you use the H patterns on these guys. So yeah, it's definitely possible that he may have done a kind of a double shift down to maybe hit 3rd, like you said. So yeah, definitely a potential there. So we'll keep an eye. But right now, say this battle up front. Say Eric's got a perfect view of it, so we're gonna kind of take advantage of that, and we'll watch as well. So we're riding on board with our 3rd place driver Eric Schaus. Say while he's watching this fight though, with our top 2 up in front of him.
And I was going to say before that Bud Steele, he saw that James Ledford was getting to run outside of him in 3 and 4 when James made that pass earlier. And I was impressed at how Bud decided to keep the car low and give him room because he saw the momentum that James Ledford had.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good respect to these drivers. Actually, here comes Bud Steele. He's going to be the first to hit the pits. Got to make sure he gets it slowed down in time. He does. You have to be careful not to catch the grass there on the entry. So, 6-car Bud Steele. He's going to be the first of those that stayed out to hit the pits. So, based on that, I would suspect we're going to see James Ledford in the 48, not too far behind. So, I'll see if he's going to duck off this time or not. He did have a few laps behind Bud Steele, so maybe able to save a little bit of fuel in that 48 car. Or maybe Bud just trying to go a little bit off strategy. Say lap times do have a bit of drop off to them, not a ton, but their best were in the 25.7s. They're down into the 26.3s, 26.4s. So I'll say that could be a potential. And the other thing I'm noticing, Steve, even after making the pass on Bud Steele, James Ledford really running the top side as it looks like he's going to hit the pits here this time around.
Yep. So it looks like these guys can do about 40, 41 laps on fuel.
Yeah, so I would suspect it's probably around the 30, 35 range under green altogether. We did have those 2 cautions where some of those leaders stayed out. So yes, I think you're right. I think maybe like 35 or so on a green flag run is about right. Jim Brooks, he's hit the pits as well. And what this has done, though, this has given Eric Schaus now the lead. So this will give him a bonus point for getting a lap led in that 72 car. Again, 1 point difference between that 72 and the 27 entering tonight's event. So again, any bonus points are going to be extremely critical here. So Eric going to get this lap led here, and so you can see not too far. It's still about a second behind though. Craig Forsyth, let's say he's trying to hold off Matt Wagner there for the second position. Let's say Matt's still holding on strong here. So now the question is, when do these next drivers, when do they kind of make their decision to blink and hit the pits? As unfortunately, I see the 6 of Bud Steele coming back into the pits. May be a pit penalty for that 6th machine. So that's going to really hurt his chances tonight. He had a great start of this race going on earlier.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But the other thing this has done, though, Steve, is with all these pit stop cycles, a lot of these drivers are trapped a lap down right now. James Ledford, Jim Brooks, they're both a lap down right now, just based on how quick the pace of these cars are at this track here. Averaging, again, about 26 seconds a lap. So, I mean, you see how long the pit stop entry and exit is. Big move there off of turn number 3 here. You see Matt Wagner actually kind of went 3 wide there for a moment, trying to get underneath the 27 of Craig Forsyth. Couldn't quite get it done there. But these guys definitely going for all their worth right here. And looks like Craig has started to close that gap a little bit here. I think Eric had a bit of a moment there working with the lap traffic, so that's definitely closed the gap in for that 27 car now.
Yeah, that was pretty hairy what went on in 3 and 4 just a minute ago, because Matt Wagner had actually gotten completely underneath Craig Forsyth going into the turn. And Craig had much better momentum coming off the turn. They had the lap car that was just ahead of them. The lap car stayed low, and that allowed Craig Forsyth to get on the outside of him, which was a respectful thing to do. And then Matt Wagner had so much momentum down on the bottom, he didn't want to get blocked by the slower car, so he went underneath him, which ended up in a 3 wide there.
Yeah, it was close there, and you can see once Eric's got the clean air back on the nose of that car, he's been able to stretch it back out again to over a 1 second lead. Actually, you see Craig Forsyth, he's slowing down, so I think he's hitting the pits. He is. So that's going to put Craig Forsyth here pitting with about 54, 53 to go, I believe. So now 1-2 will be the 72 and the 99. And the other thing I'm going to keep an eye on is we talked about those drivers that topped off on the 1 to go. That's going to include the 4 of Harrison Chandler. So Harrison, he pitted into that last yellow, so I don't know if he'd have enough to stretch it that far to make it on a one less pit stop. But he can definitely go further than the remainder of the lead pack here. So I'll say Eric Schaus, Matt Wagner, they're on lap 40 of this run. Harrison Chandler on lap number 32. So you would suspect he can go a couple more than these top 2 right now.
I'm surprised that Eric, he's going to pit now, I think.
Yep, here he comes. He's going to hit the pits. We'll see if Matt's going to follow along as well. Yep, here comes Matt Wagner as well. So the top 2 here pitting together. You see Matt was able to actually close the gap just a little bit on the entry. And say every little bit's going to count here. But you got to be very careful in these pit entries like this track here. It can definitely be treacherous there. So what that's going to do, though, is while they cycle here through the pits, that is going to switch the lead over now to Harrison Chandler. He's going to take the lead here in just a moment as he passes them across the start-finish line. So move that number 4 car here up into the point. So we'll see how many more laps can he go in that number 4 machine. And this is where a lot of these drivers are going to be kind of sweating bullets a little bit to hope that they don't get trapped by an untimely caution, because we've definitely seen those happen from time to time. And actually, I think we're going to have a good battle out of the pits as well. Yeah, here they came in together. They're going to come out right together as well, the 72 and the 99. And it looks like, I believe they're actually going to cycle through and stay on the lead lap here. So that's going to be a big break for them. The next question, of course, is going to be where they cycle through with the rest of the field that has made their pit stops. So if you look on the ticker on the left, you can see Eric Schaus, Matt Wagner. They've been able to cycle back through into the second and third positions. So that's going to be critical for their race here as well. So they got some pretty nice clean air for those two. Another one that's actually made a really big gain through that pit stop cycle. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Charles Teed, he's yet to pit in the number 05. So he's going off sequence as well for that number 05 machine, who, again, he was caught in that last instance. So what he's trying to do here is he's trying to stretch his Steve to try to see if he can try to stretch and maybe get a timely caution to keep himself on the lead lap instead of getting put back down a lap.
And while you were looking at that, Matt Wagner took the lead.
Oh, that's, well, eventual lead. Right now second. But yeah, you're right, though. Matt Wagner, he's gotten around the 72 of Eric Schaus. So I'll say will become a race leader once the 4 of Harrison Chandler pitted. But I'm going to be watching the lap counter here, Steve, because again, Harrison's going to be, this is lap number 37 of his run, about to start lap number 38. Now we're at 48 to go, so if he could stretch another 5, maybe 6 more laps, that could be that magic number to make it on one less stop than the rest of the field here. So we'll see. It's definitely a big ask to be able to do, but definitely I'm sure it's something that number 4 car is thinking about.
Yeah, most
as I
likely.
said, here I think he's coming in. Looks like he's peaking low. Yep, here he comes. So that's going to throw that strategy out the window. So didn't have the field to do that, but again, he's going to be able to go a lot further than the rest of this field here.
Okay, now I can say Matt Wagner took the lead.
Yeah, we'll say now the race leader will be switched over to that number 99 of Matt Wagner. And I say with everything the way it's cycled through here, it's actually moved Craig Forsyth. He's going to cycle through in that 3rd position in that 27. However, he's going to be about, I think, 2 to 3 seconds off of Matt and Eric here. And then right behind him, you've got Jim Brooks there in 5th position. Well, become 4th position. And then again, James Ledford there in that 5th spot.
Yep, I'm showing him 2.3 seconds behind Eric, and that's actually a bit farther. He was 1.5, I think, when he went into the pits on that last run.
Yeah, the pit stop cycle definitely went very well for that 99 and the 72. I think they did exactly what they needed to do there. Looks like they had a good entry, good exit, and I think, again, those in-laps, out-laps, those are critical for especially at a track like Gateway here, where you can really get some time just on the flat there. They were able to really maximize those pit times. So I say we're already halfway through with this one. I say we're down to 45 to go. Again, everybody's going to need to make one more stop. So that's going to be the next question, Steve. I say some of these drivers, they're going to have to pit in probably about 20 more laps. Looking at like Jim Brooks, James Ledford, they're going to be the first of those leaders to have to make their final pit stop. But after that, will be, I believe, it'll be Craig Forsyth will be the next one on that list. So yeah, so right now these two still running 1-2. So trying to keep an eye on them. And so you can see about a half a second gap between them. Also do need to note that the 4 of Harrison Chandler, he is still on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap in the 6th position. So again, that pit stop cycle for him, saying he's going to have the freshest tires of the field right here now as well, Steve. And like I mentioned too, he's going to be able to go about, let's say about 5-6 laps longer than Matt Wagner, Eric Schaus, and about 15 laps longer than Jim Brooks and James Ledford.
And I wonder whether he'll be able to spend less time in the pits on his pit stop and gain positions that way because he won't need as much fuel.
Yeah, that's going to be the really good question. And let's say, does anybody maybe try a gamble here? Oh, as you can see, actually, oh no, big trouble. No. Todd Merkel, he had trouble in 3 and 4. He hit the grass right in the path of Matt Wagner. Nothing Matt could do. You can see Craig Forsyth, he just snuck through, as did Jim Brooks and James Ledford. That's going to put us back under caution. You know that's going to make Matt unhappy because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time there. Nothing he could do there. So let's go back and see what exactly happened there, because we saw Todd Merkel. I'm not sure what it was, but you could see him wind up on the grass. May have missed his pit entry possibly. Let's go take a look here. So you can see the 81.
Well,
So you can see Matt Wagner a little ways away here. So let's say we'll take a look and see unfortunately, what all occurred there.
and while you look at that, everybody's, well, at least the top 4 are pitting here.
Oh, he just gets loose actually in turns 3 and 4, and yeah, so he catches the grass here, and then we saw there that here comes the 99 of Matt Wagner. Nothing he can do. Todd's just sliding. You see Matt try to get to the top and just know where he could go, and then you see Eric Schaus makes a sharp left to get just by them there, but unfortunately, heavy impact for both of those two cars. And of course, more critically, takes Matt Wagner out of the race lead where he was in a prime position there. So, yeah, just really unfortunate there. It's like here's I mentioned Craig Forsyth, a big break for him to be able to sneak on by that stricken car of the 99 as well. But yeah, like you said, Steve, a lot of pit strategy here now. All the leaders there pitted for fresh tires and fuel. I'm trying to see if anybody's going to stay out here. I do see a handful of drivers I think that are going to be going for that wave round option here.
Yep, and I'm showing only 5 cars on the lead lap, and that worked. I guess that worked out well for Harrison Chandler because he was in 6th, I think, and now he'll be in 5th and right with the leaders on the same tires and fuel.
Yeah, so it definitely brings him right back into the mix. What I'm going to be curious about here is we talked about the fuel window. So right now we're at 40 to go here under caution. I do wonder, does anybody think about topping off on the 1 to go? Just in case we go green to the end. I mean, that could get you just in the window if you save a little bit, maybe with the draft to maybe make it to the end here. So if I'm one of those last cars on the lead lap here, I think I might try that strategy. I know it's Jim Brooks in the 76. He had a really long pit stop, so we'll see if he's one of those that might try the gamble. Looks like some drivers that were on the tail end of the lead lap actually went ahead and decided to pit, which I'm a little surprised about there. So it's going to bring a couple back here. So drivers that are going to get that wave around, though, are going to be Jack Walls, which will put him back to 3 laps down. It's going to bring Bud Steele just to 1 down again. Bud, I think, had a pit penalty, so that hurt him. And then we also have the 0.5 of Charles T. That's going to get Charles back onto the lead lap, as well as the 44 Dwight Plush. That'll put Dwight back onto the lead lap as well. So a little bit of strategy calls here. So again, what I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, though, are going to be, does anybody maybe try a gamble here to top off and see if they can make it to the end?
I think I would do it, but so far I don't see any of the top guys doing it.
Yeah, looks like everybody's staying out here. Say Matt Wagner is back out on track. Looks like he's going to be 2 down, unfortunately. He just was about to get through the pits there, I think, before and beat the pace car out, but unfortunately got caught by the stop sign, so had to wait. So yeah, so say he's going to get trapped, unfortunately, those 2 down, so he's going to need a little bit of a break to get back into it here as we do get the 1 to green. And it's going to cycle things back now over to Eric Schaus. And I'll say they found their way together again, Steve. Second place is going to be that 27, Craig Forsyth.
Yep, they did. I wonder if he'll be able to do anything with Eric Schaus. It didn't look that way from what we saw so far. And these guys are going to be so close on fuel, I don't think they're going to push it too hard right here.
And that would, yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good question, too. Maybe if you're that 27 of Craig Forsyth, you let that 72, you let him lead, you kind of had to burn his fuel. You just use his draft here, try to obviously keep the clean air in the turns. But then when he's in the straightaways, you just try to save every little bit you can. So definitely going to be a lot of strategy that can come into play. We obviously got through a pit stop cycle here, so it's very possible that it can happen again. So now it's going to be up to Eric Schaus. So he's got to get a good restart here, see if he can gap that number 27 of Craig Forsyth. This pace car is just about to duck in. It's going to hand it over to that 72, so we'll see. Right now it looks like Eric's waiting a little longer than we've seen Bud Steele waiting. You can see, yeah, they're waiting until the straightaway here. You can see everybody's trying to get time this restart as now he goes. You see some of those drivers kind of moving over just a little bit to try to make sure that they don't get into the back of one another. And so Eric Schaus is going to lead this restart here with 37 laps to go. Jim Brooks, he's going to work quickly on getting around that 4 of Harrison Chandler to move Jim up into that 4th spot, wasting no time to try to get some of that track position back. You're already right on the rear wing of the 48 of James Ledford as well.
I noticed that Eric Schaus went low on the front stretch. I wonder if he's already trying to break the draft. Doing it again on the back stretch.
Yeah, it's very possible. I'll say maybe he was thinking the same thing that we were. I noticed for a second the 48 James Ledford wasn't showing the track. Looks like he's back now. So unfortunately, a little bit of a connection issue for the 48, but able to still hold on at the moment. So right now we've got the top 5 all here right together with Eric Schaus, Craig Forsyth, James Ledford, Jim Brooks, and Harrison Chandler. Again, they all pitted under this last yellow. We have a few of those that took the waiver on that last time by. Charles T. Dwight Plesh. They're going to still have to make a pit stop under green. Should we go green to the end? These drivers up front, there's going to be a bit of a question mark what they can do, as Eric Schaus, though, again, is starting to really gap that gap to 27 a little bit here, up to about an 8, 9, 10 second lead here. And yeah, you're right. We do see him kind of doing that snake down the backstretch a little bit, just trying to break that draft a little bit. As I say, once he gets to that magical point, there's a certain distance where that draft does not come into play here. Again, you can see he's not really being aggressive blocking the draft, but he's just kind of weaving just a little bit. See if he can maybe just break that little bit of a draft off that 27 car.
Yep, and I think, I don't know, it seems like Craig Forsyth is just struggling a little bit. I don't think I think what we saw in qualifying is manifesting itself during the race as well.
Yeah, I don't think he has quite the race pace that Eric Schaus. As you can see, I mean, he's definitely starting to try to keep that gap a little closer here. He has brought it down to just over half a second between the two of them, about 0.6 of a second now. But yeah, I do feel like he may not have the exact pace he was hoping for. Although at the same time, he could be playing possum here and just maybe hasn't shown his full hand yet until it really matters. But the next question is going to be, again, I'm going to be curious about these drivers here on the fuel strategy. Do you if you're one of these drivers maybe just a little further back, do you go full fuel save and see if you can stretch that extra lap or two? Because it seemed like the window was around that mid-30s or so, which I believe was just outside where we restarted there.
Yeah, I would definitely be. I would be following that strategy. So it could be that's what Craig Forsyth is doing. Although if I was him, I would want to be a lot closer to Eric Schaus to take advantage of the draft.
Well, and the other thing is if he lags back too far, he's going to be under attack as well from James Ledford. You can see James starting to close up to the rear wing of that 27 car. So there's only so much you can do here. I mean, obviously you want to be patient and you want to try to conserve and do what you need to do to make it to the end. But at the same time, that opens you up for counterattack from those cars behind you. So as you see now, actually, Craig, he's running the low side there. So I couldn't quite tell if he was following the 72 or not. But as I were possibly trying to break the draft of that 48 car. So the top 4 have snuck away a little bit, Steve, from Harrison Chandler. But again, though, I mean, we saw Harrison went really far in that fuel run. So I think he's a little bit lighter on the throttle. He might be saving here a little more aggressively. That way, once we get towards the kind of the closing time of this race here, that might be kind of come into his wheelhouse. So, well, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a lot of different races that we got going on here. There's obviously just the outright pace part of it, but now there's going to be the strategy of the fuel mileage because it's going to be tight. And saying again, we know these drivers. I mean, they know these cars. They know the fuel numbers pretty much down to a T here.
Well, and I think this is a strategy you and I have both done before. When we feel that we're not quite as fast as the leader, we know we're not going to be able to beat them on the racetrack head to head. So we back off a little bit, save fuel, and try and beat them on the fuel saving game.
Yeah, exactly. So you always do the fuel strategy side of things. So, and that might be the thought as well. So we're going to be coming across here, 26 to go already. But maybe if you're Eric Schaus, maybe you are thinking about maybe you kind of wait to go a little bit more aggressive on your fuel saving once you get closer to the window. Again, I'm sure he knows very well what numbers he needs to hit to make it to the end. I mean, this is a track. I mean, you do have to. There is a lot of slowing down here, so you can be a little bit kind of roll the turns a little bit more instead of just sending it in there and stomping on the brakes. So there is places to save fuel here compared to some of the bigger tracks that we do run at.
Yep, that's true. You can let off earlier. You can roll it through the turns more and get on it a little bit later coming off.
I'll say we'll do is we're gonna hop on board with our race leader here, because we'll see if we can get maybe some insight here, see if he's doing anything by chance. So watch him come across the front stretch. See again, just kind of run into the middle, break that draft a little bit here. Don't hear anything out of the ordinary so far from that 5 car, so might be just kind of plan as usual here for him. I say he may be waiting till, again, maybe wait till it's really time to save. Let's say there's always those 2 strategies if they are tight on fuel, is to save early and then go, or to just go and then save late at the very end. So, or again, I mean, they might be good to go on fuel, and let's say we might just be kind of overhyping this fuel thing for nothing. As actually see the 51 there down on the inside wall. That's Paul Patterson, no caution yet. So I think he's going to be able to take a tow, and yeah, he does take a tow and get back to the pit. So we will stay green here, as that could have definitely shaken things up with the overall results. All right, so let's switch over to our second place driver. We'll take a listen to what Craig is doing. And to your point, Steve, Craig was down to 3rd gear there in turn 1 and 2.
Okay, that's interesting. That would actually use a little more fuel, I would think.
Yeah, I would suspect the same as well. I think right now Craig definitely trying to, I think, push. In my opinion, I think he's trying to maybe put the pressure on that 72, right? Maybe try to force him to burn his fuel up a little bit more. So yeah, he is dropping every time he's going down the 3rd gear. And again, that might just even be the aero push. He just has to slow that car down that little bit extra, and so it just kind of forces his hand to drop it down to a 3rd as well. So we'll see. He's also going down to 4th gear, I believe. Well, this time it looks like he stays in 5th. But you can see he definitely is pushing through turns. But we're going to come into here in just a moment, though, is Eric Schaus going to come into some traffic here with the 83 of Jack Walls and the 44 Dwight Plush. So he's going to have to try to pick his way through them. It looks like they're just going to give him plenty of room there. You saw Jack Walls just drop to the inside line. You see the same actually for 44 Dwight Plush. He's actually going to hit the pits here. And for Dwight, that is about 31 laps on fuel for him. So again, we talked about the fuel numbers. So he's able to go 31. These drivers will definitely need to make more than that to get to the end.
Did Dwight Plush, did he pit on the last caution, or did he?
No, he took. Yeah, he said he took a wave around.
Okay, so he knew he was going to have to pit again. He may have done it early.
Yeah, so he may have been pitting early. So yeah, he may have not run the full stretch of fuel. I maybe just waited until he was about to get lapped and went ahead and pitted there to take no risks. So. So let's go to 3rd place now. Let's take a look, see what James Ledford's doing on board here. James had a really bad push there in 1 and 2, had to really back it down. Also, actually, I'm noticing Jim Brooks in 76, he's going to hit the pits as well. So based on this, I'm leaning towards that maybe these drivers do not think that they can make it on fuel to the end. But say the risk that the 76 though is taking right now is the fact that he's going to be pitting here early, and again the risk of a caution getting him trapped down. That's risk versus reward here. He's going to be obviously have the fresher tires, but puts himself at the mercy of a caution here.
Is it possible that he can do that and stay on the lead lap?
I don't think you can stay on the lead lap for a green flag pit stop. He is back on track. He's about a lap and a half down at this point. As leaders are in 1 and 2, he is in 3 and 4 now. So what I will do though is what I want to do is he's actually in clean air. So we're going to have an apples to apples lap for the 72 and the 76 cars. So what I'd like to see is how their lap times compare between the two of them. Once Jim does get a lap into that 76 car as he gets that thing up to speed. Because right now Eric Schaus, he's running in the low 26s. You can see he's actually stretched that gap out to over a 1.5 seconds over Craig Forsyth here. As also Harrison Chandler, he hits the pits, so it looks like no fuel strategy for that number 4 car as well. I really thought somebody might try to stretch it to the end, but at this point it's not looking like anybody, I think maybe nobody thinks they can do it here.
Yeah, I'm going to guess with Harrison Chandler having just pitted that these guys are all going to have to pit.
And this if it stays green, Steve, this short pit strategy could actually work out for Jim Brooks. His last lap time they're getting, after coming out of the pits there, he ran a 25.73 to Eric Schaus's 26.44. So That's about 7/10 of a difference there, and this time by a 25.57 to Eric Schaus's 26.4. So that 76 car is making really good time right now in that clean air after his pit stop here.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat here, Rachel. I'll say these pit strategies, I'll say they definitely shake things up a little bit. So again, we don't know. Say Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus, James Ledford, they still all have yet to pit. Charles Teed, he's on lap number 36, Steve. He has yet to make his pit stop. He took a wave around, so he's making great fuel in that 05 car. So, and actually, as I say that, Craig Forsyth, he hits the pits from that second spot to move James Ledford now up into the second position here. So that leaves only 2 of our leaders, 3, including including Charles Teed, that have yet to pit here. So again, though, I mean, I'm watching Charles Teed, and I see that 37 laps. I just can anybody stretch it as far as he has?
I think Eric Schaus is going to have to pit here pretty soon because Craig Forsyth is going to come out and be running like 7/10 a lap faster, and Eric can't afford to give that up. And his main race right now really is against Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now I'm going to jump over because I want to see this pit stop battle where they come out with each other, because here comes Craig Forsyth. He's exiting the pits. We talked about Jim Brooks with the kind of head of steam he's had, and it looks like Craig is just going to hold on to that spot in front of that 76 of Jim Brooks as the leaders cross line for 10 to go here. So it looks like Craig is going to hold off Jim Brooks for that position, but here comes James Ledford. He's brought it down to just under a couple tenths of a second. He is right there now, right on the back wing of Eric Schaus here. James seems to have a really good really good long run pace in that 48 car.
Yeah, he definitely does. I'm wondering how much longer these guys are going to stay out, or maybe, by some miracle they saved enough fuel, but I kind of doubt it.
I think this is that risk versus reward part. I think Eric knows, again, if he catches a timely caution, that's going to trap 27 of Craig Forsyth a lap down. Right now, Craig is the first car 1 lap down. I'll say right now only the top 2 here on the lead lap, still between that between the 72 and the 48. So I'm saying the thing is too, we're already down to 8 laps to go. So, and this is the next thing, Steve. All those other drivers that pitted, they took tires and fuel. We know it's going to be a really short pit stop at this point, since you're only going to need about, it looks like at this point, probably about 5 more laps of fuel to make it to the end. Do any of them consider just a splash of fuel to maybe just try to shorten that pit stop time a little bit?
I think I would do that.
I think if you're pitting this late in the game, it would be worth trying something different. The biggest risk, of course, is if a caution comes out and you have to do like a not a green-white checker, I'm sorry, but a late race restart here with older tires. But one thing we do, again, have to mention that the Indy series here, they are mimicking IndyCar, so there are actually no more green-white checkered attempts at the finish. We were going to run this thing out to 100 laps, whether it's under green or under caution. But right now, Eric Schaus still stretching it here. He's on lap number 35 of this run. James Ledford doing the same. Say these two might be just trying to see if they can race each other out of fuel right now. Craig Forsyth, he's holding a solid 3rd position after his green flag pit stop. So now it's really just all eyes are going to be on these top 2. Can either of them make it to the end? Because Eric's crossing line here. We're going to have 5 to go.
Yeah, it's like, I need a caution.
Well, I wonder if it's a caution or just, again, I mean, the other thing you have to mention, we saw James Ledford. Here he comes. Looks like he's diving in now. So say Eric's going to be pitting here with 4, coming to 4 to go here. So it's going to cycle the lead over to the 48 of James Ledford now. So now has James got 4 laps in store for that number 48 car. But what we're going to do is we're going to watch the pit stop of this number 72 car. Because again, we're talking about, Steve, we need to see what's the strategy going to be here. Do you take fuel only? Do you still take tires? I mean, there's a lot of potentials here of what you can do. Because again, even though the pit stops are fast for tires, you're still going to add a couple of seconds, and that could be enough to make a difference. And based on the pace, I think James Ledford, he's hitting the pits as well in that 48 machine, coming to 3 to go. All right, Eric's in the pits, and looks like it's up off the ground. Yep, there are going to be tires here on the 72 car, so he's going to drop it down. He's going to down and away. 48 James Ledford, he is in the pits now. And I believe on the cycle through, it looks like Craig Forsyth is cycling through out in front, Steve.
Yep, that's what I saw. I saw him go by. It's a huge gap that Eric is not going to be able to make up.
Yeah, so Craig's gonna be coming around here. 2 to go at the. Oh no, I'm sorry, 3 to go at the line. To say again, apologies. I see. Say the 40 of James Ledford to say he just hit his pit stall, so he is up in the air here, getting pit stop service done to his car. So yeah, so Craig Forsyth, he's taking over control of this race in the lead now. Jim Brooks, well, again, he pitted earlier as well. He's in that second position now. And Eric Schaus, as I said, he cycled through. He's now in third position. Going to have to try to make some big gains quickly here. But I'm looking at the gap here. I think he can maybe get to second. But I mean, at this point, you can see the gap. Craig has got about 6 seconds on him just for his pit strategy there.
Yep, and I think based on how long Eric stayed out, how much track position he lost by doing that, that it wouldn't have mattered if he hadn't taken tires.
Yeah, I mean, look at his pit stop. It was about a 7-second pit stop. I think he could save about 4 possibly if he had just taken a splash of fuel, but that would have only put him to still about a second or 2 out. So white flag is out for now our race leader, Craig Forsyth, saying it's going to be a pit strategy called when to make that final stop. It looks like it's going to get the job done for him. So it didn't seem like he had the overall pace, but when it mattered, actually, though, I'm looking at the lap times. He does have the fastest lap of the race with a 25.5. So out of turn number 4 through the start finish line, Craig Forsyth going to get the win. Here's the battle there for that second position. Looks like Jim Brooks just going to hold off Eric Schaus there for third. And then so we have a good battle here coming around for fourth. Oh, trouble on the back stretch, or in the front stretch, coming to the checkered there. I think it was possibly between Charles T, James Ledford, Harrison Chandler. Harrison winds up the worst of it. He's going to try to loop it around, at least get this car across the line to finish here. So Harrison going to try to get there. Can't quite get it done here. I think he'll be able to get it this second go around. So you can see the hardest time to pit there hardest time to finish there in the 6th position. I want to go back and see what happened to Harrison Chandler and company there, because I think there's a 3-way battle here going for that 4th position.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It was an amazing battle that was shaping up right there.
Yeah, you see Harrison Chandler here. And actually, it looks like he gets... I'm not sure if he got loose or contact from Michael Spell. But unfortunately, that's where the contact was for him. And then you can see, actually, yeah, it wasn't even a battle for position at that point. You see Charles T just sneaks on by James Ledford. He actually makes contact with him and just kind of slides across the line with the damage. So, say James Ledford loses the whole front section of his car, but still brings it home in the 5th spot. But unfortunately, though, say Harrison Chandler goes from 4th to 6th there. Just, again, not sure if he got loose or maybe some contact there at the end, but definitely not what he was looking for there. But like I mentioned, though, say just everything worked out well here for that 27 car of Craig Forsyth. Say the brakes went his way tonight, Steve. I mean, that's about all you can say about that one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he played his cards right. This should have been Las Vegas.
Yeah, so he definitely did some gambling here on the pit stop side of things, and he's able to get it done. Again, I mean, we talked about how every point was going to matter, and I say Craig Forsyth's going to get the win here. Possibly also might get a bonus point as well for leading the most laps in this, or not leading most, I'm sorry, for gaining the most positions. Went from 10th to 1st here tonight, so that poor starting spot might actually wind up being kind of a blessing in disguise as well for that 27 car.
Yep, I think you're right. Looks to me like he gained the most.
So I want to say Eric most likely led the most laps in that race as well. So, I mean, that'll offset it a little bit, but it's going to go into next week, Steve. I say it's going to be neck and neck between the two of them. So next week, our season finale, say a fitting end is going to be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, definitely keep an eye out for that one. But before we get all that said and done, though, we got to find some drivers to chat with. All right, so we're going to pull up our 3rd place finisher. These are the toughest interviews to do, Steve, because, I mean, when they have everything going so well and unfortunately just kind of it doesn't end up the way you'd want to, it makes it tough. But say, Eric, I mean, you had a great run going for you. Just seemed like, unfortunately, just the pit strategy just didn't quite work out in your favor of when to blink and make that final pit stop. We were kind of curious if maybe you were trying to save enough to make it to the end without pitting. But then once we saw the 27 pit and you stayed out longer, that was kind of, we weren't sure what the strategy was going to be, if you could stretch it to the end or not. I mean, take us through your race. Obviously, had a couple of close calls there. One, of course, when unfortunately Matt Wagner got taken out there, you barely squeaked by that one. So I mean, it looked like it was a pretty tough fight out there overall.
Yeah, it was tough. I felt like I had the pace on pretty much everybody out there once I got the hang of it. I definitely had the pace on Craig. So when Craig pitted in, just a brilliant strategy on his part. Or I when he pitted in, I considered going as well, and I thought, no, I've got enough to go an extra 10 or 15 laps. There might be a caution. Let me stay out. That'll guarantee me the win if I do that. Unfortunately, it was the wrong call. And then when I went into the pits, I considered taking no tires and just a splash of fuel because I only needed about a gallon and a half. And I ended up taking tires, and I think that's what cost me the position to Jim. Otherwise, I might have come out next to him or in front of him. So overall, a really good race on my part, but just mistakes on strategy call.
I was kind of surprised that you didn't pull in like the next lap after Craig did. I thought, maybe he's trying to make it on fuel, or maybe he's going to have a quicker pit stop at the end because he won't take tires. But Guile and I tried to do the math on it, and we don't think that you would have come out in the lead because you'd gone so many laps at that point. Were you aware of like how many, almost a second a lap faster the cars were on fresh tires?
Yeah, I knew that, but I also knew they fell off kind of quickly. And that whole time I had kind of been pacing myself. So as soon as Craig dropped in, I actually started pushing it a little bit more. And I had about a 2-second gap to him, or a second and a half, I think, when he went into the pits. So I was kind of hoping that would be enough. Turns out not the case, though. By a long shot, it looks like Craig beat me by a decent margin. So,
what were your biggest challenges driving that track tonight?
Honestly, it wasn't too bad. I actually really like this track. I've got a couple wins here in official races, so I'm pretty used to it. The setup was definitely different than normal. You really had to learn how to coast and brake into turn 1 and 2, and then just a little lift through 3 and 4. But once you got the hang of it, it's nice and smooth. You could save tires, save fuel, and overall just drive a really good race.
I'll say the other thing we noticed was at one point during that long run at the end, I saw James Ledford. We were kind of keeping an eye on some of the drivers that had pitted, but then we noticed that James Ledford had gotten right back up to you. Were you trying to basically do some aggressive fuel saving at that point? Or was there maybe some traffic that we had missed that brought him back up to you?
Yeah, it was lapped cars. I was catching a couple lap cars in the corners, and there was some, I don't know if it was network issues, but a couple of them were kind of swerving back and forth, and it was tough to decide if I wanted to go under them, over them, whatever. So I would just let off in the corners and then pass them on the straight just to be safe.
Okay, yeah, so that was the other thing we were curious. We saw him catch up, then you kind of snuck back away, so I wasn't sure. Maybe that was like the full fuel save mode, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right, you got to pick up the pace again, kind of a thing. But the other thing I noticed was we talked about obviously the tire fall off. Did that adjust where you needed to really run on the track at all? We did see a few drivers, like notably, like I mentioned, James Ledford. He was really running the top side. It seemed like, especially in 3 and 4, or sorry, 1 and 2, a lot more. Whereas most everybody was kind of down to the middle groove, I would say. Did you notice the grooves had any different feels for you on track?
I found the second groove to be the fastest, even on worn tires. If anytime I would kind of overshoot it a little bit and get thrown up in the third groove, I was slower there. It could have been my timing on acceleration through the exit, but overall I was faster through the second groove. I think that 24 hours a Daytona really taught me some throttle control, so it was real easy and nice smooth roll on the throttle and took off that way.
Yeah, so if only these things had traction control like those cars, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, still, I mean, a really great run for you tonight, Eric. Again, obviously the result doesn't quite show it, but still, again, a solid result. And so obviously going to be going into Indy for the finale. Say it's going to be a shootout between yourself and Craig. So I didn't expect to see it really any other way for this season. So it should be exciting to watch you two battle out to the end. But definitely got to give you the floor here, though. Anything and shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, I think Craig and I are going to have a good run next week. We should be within probably about 5 to 10 points of each other, so it could be anybody's game. Yeah, shout out to my wife for watching and supporting. Always love it when she gets a chance to watch. Thanks to my father-in-law, who was cheering us on in the Discord. Thanks to you guys. Excellent broadcast as always, and thanks to Area 51. This was a fun race. Not a big field, but a fun race.
Yeah, so you may need to buy Rachel a little bit more wine after that one as well. Just some insider info for you.
All right, I'll do that.
Great job tonight, Eric.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's our second place finisher, Eric Schaus, in the 72 again. Entered the points, Steve, with a 1 point lead over Craig Forsyth. Craig, like he mentioned, it's going to probably be within about 10 laps between the two of them, or 10 points, I should say, between the two of them, just based on their finishing positions, bonus points, and all that. So obviously we'll go over that, though, starting next week's race for our Season 6 finale here. However, we got to jump now over to our second place finisher, that number 76 of Jim Brooks. Jim was one of the first ones, Steve, we noticed that pitted there under that last green flag stop. We're all thinking about someone maybe trying to save to the end there, and you went the opposite route. You went ahead and pitted there early, got the tires, and you actually got out there in a really nice piece of track to set down some really fast lap times. That was when we really started to notice the difference of tires, new versus used, and it was going to be interesting to see where you cycled out. Didn't quite get in front of Craig there at the end, but still to be able to jump back up to that second position. Looks like that strategy played out pretty well for you.
Yeah, thanks. No, I was waiting for 20 to click out, and then I was getting ready to pit, and then I think Dwight was coming in and Jack was down low, so I slowed up a little bit, which I think wasn't good. Made another lap and then came in, but yeah, I tried to just run as fast a laps as I could the rest of the race, and 1 and 2 was everything. I mean, with newer tires, you could take that pretty fast and do well. But as the tires wore a little bit, that was just a really treacherous corner, and just I could never back up the same entry point lap after lap, which I'm sure Craig was doing because he's better.
Did you have any thoughts about trying to stretch it to the end there under that last round? We noticed, we noticed under the last pit stop, you actually had a bit of a longer pit stop. You restarted back behind, I think it was Harrison Chandler. So although on the restart you were able to get back around him pretty quickly there. But were there any thoughts about maybe trying to stretch that fuel mileage, Steve? You could make it make it to the end from that last restart.
No, I don't think it was. I don't have a way to really do that objectively, but I had banged the wall earlier in the race and used my fast repair under a caution, and then when Todd crashed there and was crossways in the track, I came out of 4, and I thought I missed him, but I guess I hit him enough so that when I pitted, I had a 25-second repair, and so I went ahead and stayed for that, which probably hurt me because I was ahead of James. I think I was 3rd place, and if I could have stayed there, I probably would have had the track position to at least fight Craig for it. But no, it's a tough track. The setup wasn't great, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
Jim, what gears were you using in the turns?
I was going down to 4th and 1 and 2, and then shifting to 5th, staying in 5th the whole way, and then going through 3 and 4 and 5th, and then shifting into 6 about the flag stand.
Okay, so you could actually run the whole backstretch in 5th gear then.
Yeah, what I found is that if you took the corner in, because it wasn't all, it wasn't that much of it. It was only the last, not even quarter of it that you got to shift light come on. And when I went through in 6, I had tried that in practice and whatever. It seemed like it was a slower straightaway, the front straight, instead of running out in 5th and then shifting into 6th to halfway.
Were you finding a lot of push coming off of both the turns?
As the run went, and if you were behind somebody, there was definitely aero push. But yeah, I really struggled with 1 and 2. It was the middle line was what most people seem to be running. I could sometimes do better if I could come in high and then arc it down to the low part and then try to get on it sooner. And the danger then was it kind of got snappy loose. I had I think 7 or 8 weight jacker positive beside the 6 and 1 bars. So I had it pretty loose, and the setup was, inconsistent. So yeah, just had to be really careful with that because it would snap around on you.
Yeah, I wondered if people had made adjustments like that.
Yeah, I'm sure some did, and some. I mean, like Jack struggled the whole time, and John and some others. It's really a tough track, even under the best conditions, and with the changes they made to the tire model and the ride height on this car a few weeks or a month ago, whatever. It's a whole different car, and we haven't came to grips yet in the setups with just exactly. And there were no good setups out there for this. The default iRacing, you'd spin out going into any corner, so it was undrivable. And all the ones I tried before were about the same. And then we worked on this one a lot, and finally got it at least livable where you could race it.
Yeah, I think you guys have done a good job the last couple of weeks. You're definitely starting to figure it out.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll work at it. And the new season coming up. Indy's next week, so I think that setup's fine. I have to check that out and make sure, but I think we ran there with it, and I think it's okay. If not, that one's easier to fix. And then next season, get ahead of it a little bit, hopefully.
All right, well, I'll say great run, I guess. Say strategy obviously worked very well there at the end, and like I said, unfortunately, say just that damage may have at least put you kind of out of a chance to at least fight a little harder for it. But say the strategy definitely jumped you back up into that second spot. So yeah, good run overall and great result tonight.
Yeah, definitely great run, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was fun though. It was a good challenge.
All right, so that is our second place finisher. That's 76 of Jim Brooks, which leads us back over to our race winner here, Steve, in the number 27 machine. He started in 10th, able to find his way up into the top 5 or so pretty quickly. But then from there out, it seemed like he was kind of just, I don't know if it would say, well, I wouldn't say hanging out, but just didn't quite have enough to get towards the front with those top 2 or so. Then just pit strategy to perfection there at the end, Craig. You had it timed well. You got out there in front of the 76 of Jim Brooks, who pitted a little earlier than you. And then with Eric pitting a little later on, that those fresh tires and also some really fast laps there at the end definitely put you kind of in the catbird seat and pull off that win tonight.
Yeah, no, I knew that I was really fast for 10 laps on fresh tires, and after that I was sort of lost as to where the setup was supposed to be. So I had nothing for Eric. Eric was faster than me through the run. I mean, he was playing with me and toying with me, I think. So really, I knew my only chance was as soon as I had 10, 12 laps left, go in, get fresh tires, gun it, and hope he didn't pit. And I'll be darned if that isn't exactly what happened.
What were you thinking? Like every lap after you pitted, you must have been going like, I wonder if Eric's going to pit this lap.
I was watching the relative and I'm going, he has to pit. Come on. And it didn't happen. So I mean, I will take it. I was resigned. I told Eric I was resigned. I couldn't touch him. Couldn't get within draft. Couldn't come. I was only good in this setup on fresh tires. What for that first 10 laps with negative weight jacker, I'm very aggressive in how I hit the corners, which I don't think is how this setup likes it. It's likes you to be more gentle coming into the corners. So for 10 laps, I could be as aggressive as I like to be, diving low into 1-2, and trying to carrying as much speed as I could through 3-4 with as little let off the gas as possible. But that was the same. Starting, I crashed on my first lap of qualifying, which is why I qualified so low. So I knew immediately I had to make up positions immediately, because once the tires got worn, I wasn't going to be passing anyone else.
Yeah, we were wondering what happened to you in qualifying.
Yeah, we're also mentioning. Almost could have been a bit of a blessing in disguise as well, though, too, because with you starting 10th and going up to first, that's going to give you I believe the highest climber as well. So I want to say that's going to be a bonus point on that side too. So I'm saying also with Eric qualifying second, not getting that pole position, so say that would actually obviously give another bonus point kind of to your advantage there as well. So one of those things where maybe a bad situation worked out as best it could for you there. But it's a really good point you make, though. You're saying that you had the really fast 10-lap pace, and then that's where you went with the strategy to say, okay, I'm going to pit around 10 to go, and then do your 10 money laps, if you will, and then kind of see where everything shakes out. And So I mean, obviously you did exactly what you needed to. You ran the fastest lap of the race during that cycle as well. And I'm saying you can attest to this with these Indy cars. Obviously, pretty much anywhere you pit with these guys, you get a lap down until everybody cycles through. Just how stressful is that as a driver, just waiting and just hoping that everything cycles through where you don't get trapped that lap down at the end?
That was the danger. With how close the points were, I knew it was a gamble, but it was the only bullet I had left in my gun. Everything else had missed, so it was go for this. The worst that was going to happen was I'd end up fourth. So why not try it? And it ended up working out.
Yeah, definitely. I'll say it definitely worked out well for you there. Say getting the win here tonight. I said put yourself in position and say you were up front the whole that after the moved up pretty quickly at the beginning. And say from there you're pretty much in that top 5 or so position. I'll say, but yeah, you made the right call at the right time and saying obviously put down those fast laps when you needed to as well to pull it off here tonight. So definitely want to congratulate you on that win tonight, Craig. And of course, as always, definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks shouts you'd like to give before heading into that finale next week at Indy?
I got to thank Lightweight Motorcycle Gear, lmcgear.com. They put my logos on the car, and they're a good bunch of guys. If you need motorcycle gear, you guys over at Green White Checker, Gail, Steve, I'm good show you put on week in, week out, all the time. All the guys at Area 51. Again, I've said it before. If you want to join a group of guys on Tuesdays for IndyCar or any of the other Cup days that they do, that are a good group of guys, will help you learn, make you go fast, and always throw good setups for you to use. This is the league to be in.
I'll say definitely enjoy this one, Craig. I'll say, as I know you're definitely going to be having to focus next week on Indy. Say as I know that obviously with interviewing Jim, he'll be looking into that setup, see what the game plan is for that one. So yeah, I say it's gonna. I say kind of again, we kind of expected to come down between you and Eric, and say you guys didn't disappoint. So it's gonna be fun watching you two battle out for the title.
Yeah, great win, Craig. I'm really glad this is going to be so much fun to watch next week.
Yeah, I knew it would be close. I didn't really, I would have lost a bet that it would be this close coming to the end. So it should be a good battle right to the checkered flag next week.
Well, enjoy this one while you can, and then gear up and get ready for next week's race, sir.
You betcha, guys. Stay safe.
Yeah, great run.
All right, so that is our race winner in that number 27, somewhere behind all that smoke of Craig Forsyth. So we got to do now, Steve, is go through our. So again, our top 3 as we just interviewed Craig Forsyth over Jim Brooks and then Eric Schaus. And then we saw the kind of that wild finish at the end. Charles Teed comes through in the 4th position. Great recovery for Charles there to do that. James Ledford still brings it home in the top 5. And again, unfortunately, Harrison Chandler had a 4th place going there for him. Just wound up getting caught up in that incident off of 3 and 4. Still, though, able to get it back in gear and get it up into that 6th position. Our pole sitter, Bud Steele, could not recover from his pit penalty. Finishes in 7th. Dwight Plush in 8th. And unfortunately, we mentioned Matt Wagner getting caught out there while leading. Just got taken out when the car got loose in front of him. Nowhere he could go. Going to be relegated into that 9th position. And Jack Wall is going to round out our top 10. 11th through 18th, we've got Paul Patterson in that 11th position. Michael Spell in 12th. John Brill 13th. Gary Corley 14th. Todd Merkel 15th. Jimmy Drynan in 16th. Benjamin Combs in 17th. And Ed Williams Jr. in the 18th position. All right, Steve, so that's 11 down, 1 to go. So what are your final thoughts here before we head over to that season finale at Indy next week?
It was just really interesting, entertaining, enjoyable watching these guys, the mind games and the strategies as they played out. And I'm glad it ended up the way it did because we got our 2 top points champions within a few points of each other. Our 2 championship contenders within a few points of each other going into next week. And Indy is a race that can go any way. It's going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, so yeah, Indy is definitely its own animal. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how that one's going to pan out because, yeah, like you said, and that track's it's perfect for these cars. You got the long straightaways, and so you can get that right and grab the draft, and you can actually complete those passes before you get to those next turns. So Say it's gonna be 75 laps there. Say, and again, that's a 2.5 mile track. So say it's gonna be, I wouldn't say a long race, but by any means, but it's definitely gonna be one that's gonna be a lot of throttle time. So I think we'll see some more pit stops on that one. But drafting, fuel strategy, all of that can really come into play next week. And I'll say we'll see. It could play an outcome of that title fight as well. All right. So again, for all of you that were watching, thank you again for joining us. Really, really appreciate you all being here. Again, we'll be back on Thursday for the Cup Series. Same thing for them. They'll be on their second to last race. I'll say that one, championship's looking pretty much locked up for that number 67 of Larry Yingling. And then we'll be back again on Sunday for the Super Speedway Cup Series. So until then, as always, if you can, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands. And until next time, have a good night.
Night, everyone.